Okay, for the last part of this video and the last part of this series, I wanted to talk to you about expense. Does it really cost more to do a DIY high tunnel? Does it make sense? Does it show profit? Can you make money at this? Yes. We designed, fabricated, installed all of this with just our family. It's been me, my wife Tiffany, Alyssa, and Morgan. That's two of my daughters. We set this up, laid it out. Now the only thing that's not included in this pricing that I'm going to talk to you about is this ground cover fabric, this woven fabric. We already had this on the ground. This was already being used. It was already in place. Already had peppers in it. So I didn't get you a figure on it. This is, if you want to know, this is a 12-foot wide piece of fabric. And we're using obviously 24 feet of it with what we've got set up here. This greenhouse is 12 foot by 24, and the fabric is 12 foot and comes in, I don't know, maybe 100-foot rolls. I can't remember what they are for sure. 100-foot rolls we buy them in. So we've got a 12 by 24, which so happens to be almost the exact same size as our greenhouses. Our greenhouses are, if I remember right, 12 foot 8 inches by 14 foot, 24 foot and 8 inches. So it's almost the exact same space. Now, a few differences is this does not have the height that our greenhouses have. What we're looking at, this is about a 7-foot height. I'm 6 foot tall, and you know, we've got this much space above my head. So we got roughly 7 foot. It may be more like 6 foot 10 inches, but we got roughly 7 foot of height here. And we've got the way we designed it, the side walls come up a little bit before they really start to curve in. So we've got about 3 feet, around 32, 34 inches, about 34 inches, so 2.5 feet of height coming up the side. So we got that to work with before it starts to really taper in. I'm really happy with almost everything that turned out here, the way this worked. Everything is great. If you had a level lot, it would work even smoother. We have to work with quite a bit of a slope here. Not horrible, but quite a bit of a slope. It's not by no means a hillside. We got a little backfilling to do around the base over here, where to level it, we ended up with a spot where the boards didn't come quite to the ground. So we will backfill that with something to keep the draft out as winter comes in, because when winter gets here, we're going to want to keep all the heat in here at night that we can, because everything we do is just going to make it better. A few things before we get into what this cost. A few things that I would do different is we used 3/4 inch EMT conduit, metal conduit for the ridge beam. I would either go to a bigger conduit like a 1.5 inches or 1 inch for sure. Definitely would be 1 inch. Or I would do wood. I used this because we had it. And it's nice and rigid. The only shortcoming to it, and the reason I would go to 1 inch, is just to be stronger. The only shortcoming to it is where we join the two 10-foot pieces. Now, if you had a solid 20-foot piece, it'd be even better. But where we join the two 10-foot pieces in the middle, it sags at the coupling. And so I expected I would have to put in a reinforcement, and I did. You know, and this isn't much of a hinder. We lose one growing spot because of this. I put a 2x4 leg, flat leg on the bottom, so it don't just push into the ground so easy. You know, I want to be able to support a little bit of a snow load. You know, we're going to work the snow off this as soon as we see it on it, but I wanted to be able to support just a little bit of a snow load. So I would change that. The big thing I would change is we went with a 3/4 inch PVC electrical conduit. This is the gray electrical conduit that has a sleeve made on the end already where you can join the pieces together. I would definitely, absolutely 100% go up a size. Oh, and maybe even 2 sizes. But a 1 inch, I think they even make a 1 1/4 in this. I know they make a 1 1/2, but I would definitely go up to at least a 1 inch. This was much more flexible than what I expected. So that's what I would say there. And so that being said, we used 1/2 inch EMT, the metal conduit, and cut it into 2-foot sections and drove it into the ground to put this plastic over 3/4 over top of, and it works out great. So if I went up a size on this, of course I would go up a size on the ground stake also. We run carriage drilled holes and run carriage bolts, 3-inch carriage bolts, through the wood that runs around the base, and it goes through the gray EMT conduit and also through the silver metal 1/2 inch conduit, EMT conduit. The gray's not EMT, sorry, it's a PVC. So it went through both pieces of conduit to join them together, which helps anchor everything down and hold it all together at the same time. Now I'm going to give you a rough list here of what we spent. There's a few other odds and ends that we may have used, like some 3/4 inch strap clamps. Just used a handful of those. That's a minimal purchase. They're probably like $5 for a bag of them. But I wanted to give you some pricing on this, so you know, and give you a rough materials list. Now your material list will vary according to how you brace your structure and so forth. But we used 20 2x3s by 8 foot. Now that's what we used on the ends. That's what our door frames are made out of. That's what our door is made out of. And we used 3 2x4s by 8 foot, 6 2x4s by 10 foot, and I buy my screws in the large buckets. I think they're 5 pounds, and they're $30, $29 or $28 a bucket. So I use several different sizes. You can get by with 2 sizes. You can probably do 3-inch screws and 1 5/8 and cover everything. I used 1 5/8, 2 1/2, 3-inch, and a handful of 3 1/2s. So you can buy them in smaller quantities, but I buy them in the 5 pound, but I wouldn't have used a whole 5 pounds on this at all. So $30 worth of screws will cover this. Carriage bolts, we use 3-inch 5/16 carriage bolts. Plenty big enough to do the job. You don't need nothing no bigger. Don't need to spend extra money. Those things are about 31 cents a piece. We use plastic, actual greenhouse plastic. This is not the cheap stuff you buy at Lowe's. This is actual greenhouse that's got a solar protector built into it so that it doesn't fall apart as quick. We've been using this stuff for years on another greenhouse we have, and we're into 4 years on that greenhouse, and the plastic is looking great. I expect to get another year out of it, and it's by no means made well, so it gets some abuse. And then of course 5/16 nuts. I did actually use a couple of 5/16 flat washers. They're not on my list, but I used a couple of them overhead here, actually on my support beams where I used them. And then of course the 3/4 inch EMT conduit, that's our ridge beam. And then the 3/4 inch PVC the 3/4 inch EMT, they come in 10-foot sections, so we use 2 pieces. And then the 3/4 inch PVC conduit, we use 12 pieces. And a box of 3/8 staples, like for an arrow hand staple gun, to secure the plastic on the ends. And then we used 4 or 5. I didn't have the exact count of the 1/2 inch. I already had it on hand, so I didn't count it. The 1/2 inch EMT conduit for a ground stake, so I counted 5. The only other thing that I didn't put on this list, and I can tell you that it's probably roughly $20 worth, I used 2x2s to pinch the plastic between it and the 2x3s on the outside. And so there's 6 of them, I think 6 is what I used. So you know, they come in bundles of 4, I think, so 2 bundles, and I think that they're minimal. $2 a tube of 2 or something, which is outrageous, but still what it is. So 20 bucks would have covered that. So all that being said, adding the tube of 2s in, $420 is what we've got spent here. Now I included, I charged build out for what the conduit cost, even though I already had the EMT metal conduit. I still got that in this figure. So like I said, the fabric's not on here, but $420. Now I challenge you to find a greenhouse kit for $420. Now the only thing that's not on there is my door hinges. I had them. I don't know how much they cost, but door hinges, you can do anything. I put a fancy set of gate hinges on because I already had them. Door hinges, you can use old used ones. You can use an old storm door that's laying around if a friend's got one. Use some recycled material. If you want it to last longer, you can use pressure treated. We can't use pressure treated because we are going through organic certification, and they will only allow a handful of different pressure treated items, and none of our local big box stores have that stuff. So again, I hope that helps. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be glad to try to answer anything that I have. So thank you much. I appreciate it.